Hi, Battlefield 2042 has seen a special edition release and I'm having a blast, sometimes more literally than I prefer. With the whole game being available, I am blown away with the sheer awesomeness of some of these gadgets, maps, and today, operators. Kicking off the new 5-minute series, my favorite specialist in the beta and so far the release, I'm Six Snipes and this is How to CASPER in 5 minutes. Normally this would be the video segment where I touch on the history of the weapon or character with the story behind their conception and what DICE has written in terms of development, but nobody fucking cares. So let's get straight to why CASPER is in my opinion easily one of the strongest operators for intelligence gathering and perimeter defense. Now his main shtick being this, you may be thinking I'm about to talk about that in terms of potency, but I am not. I'm talking about this. Every operator gets a primary and tertiary gadget or feature where one defines their kit and the other supplements their ability to use it. Take away his main asset and CASPER is still an animal within closed engagements because of this. Unlike other operators, CASPER gets a perpetually active static radar, which contrary to lesser games which will show you directional coordinates based off the generic pizza graph you'd grown to expect, CASPER's ability pings the red sensor down at the bottom of your HUD directly proportional to how close the enemy is, both in the lateral and axial sense. This means you can't just go fishing for the xenomorph or the shotgun like Ripley is. To my knowledge, there's no directional indicator, but you will never be snuck up on without warning. Combine this with the competent attention to audio and the next feature, and a well-versed CASPER main is virtually unsurprisable. Next feature, the drone. So CASPER gets a quadcopter and a handy Nintendo Game Boy Advanced SP to monitor his camera system, and unlike the beta, it's not completely shit. Now that it doesn't disconnect every time you leave it idling, forcing you to wait for another drone to recharge, this bad boy is accessible with a push of a button and is virtually any Echo main's wet dream with a very wide-angle lens and long-range capabilities, allowing you to pilot, place, and power back on anytime you like. Let's start with the controls. They're idiot-proof. Take a helicopter, but move, pitch, and yaw, so it's basically impossible to crash, and the size of your dinner plate, and that's the drone. The actual connectivity range is also absurd. The distances at which you can fly this thing up and across are obscene, and no objects or buildings will hinder your reception. It will also not stray once you stop inputting movement, and even when you're not monitoring it, so to my knowledge, nothing outside of direct player interference will bring this thing down, but I wouldn't park it anywhere near a tornado just to be safe. Your drone is also equipped with the short-range EMP device, which given time to follow and lock on a vehicle, will act very much like a RAW hack, where their weapons and defense systems for both them and their co-pilots are disabled as well as partially blinded, making the only option for things like tanks and hovercrafts being to retreat like a little bitch. While this works on any vehicle and drone, virtually everything except for Boris's turret can move and move faster than you by far. The tanks being the only way to catch most targets is to hover directly above them and disable while stationary. Aggressively, this has no application, but when Abrams decides to roll up, you can pretty much make it an easy W for the defenders by reducing the tank's option to do anything but full tilt out of there or die, as the EMP recharges only slightly slower than when it wears off to only allow devices to barely start firing again before they're disabled. This isn't even the best feature anymore. The drone now comes with an auto spotter which has a very wide blanket of recognition with decent range. Anything that's pointed at will eventually get a big red ping visible to you and vehicles, giving you the freest XP you've ever had in your life and making it easy for actual threats like attack choppers to completely decimate targets they would otherwise struggle to see. It is what it is. It will also continue to spot anything that's pointed at regardless of whether you are operating it. Now, most CASPERs sit somewhere off site like an asshole perving on hostiles with their drone and making clean snipes with that sweet locational intel. This is doable but contributes nothing to the game. If you're tasked with a specific purpose of attacking an objective, you probably shouldn't be doing it with CASPER. His drone may be good for scouting out areas, but it leaves you exposed on your leapfrog leapster with your ass on enemy territory to any potential Canadian serial killers looking to clap your cheeks. You'll be faster on foot, and if you really need to breach and clear, just use your radar and you'll be fine. The real application for the gillied up nightmare that is CASPER is making the enemy's offensives as difficult and as grinding as possible. Doing the minimum amount of work consists of flying your drone around all match like a dunce, just spotting enemies and racking up insane numbers of assists. Yes, you get assists because you're showing your team where they're all coming from and allowing air support and anyone paying attention to their mini-maps to just completely body the shit out of countless attackers who can't think to look up and see why their every move is getting suppressed by preemptively set up Boris turrets. You will easily get intelligence and wingman ribbons 1, 2, and 3 in a single match just by holding down the WASD keys and moving your mouse for 30 minutes. Not to mention, that's how you get all of his skins. But utilize the drone a little smarter and you're no longer just an asset to your team, you're a danger to the enemy. Smart drone placement in your own position lets you detect and counter every time a squad makes entry, at the very least alert your team where the enemy is backcapping and stall until help arrives. The IBA armor plate will increase your durability when doing so, making you a very formidable solo operator and is useful given its early access in the unlocked chain. However, once you unlock a spawn beacon, that is the only thing you should be running, as it allows you and your squad to return to the site regardless of proximity to enemies, where squad mates can respawn as many times as they want and you will have to put anyone down every time you come back. Given no ability to counter vehicles beyond turning a tank into a 10-ton Stephen Hawking, basic grenades will actually do enough damage to make them critical or make them dead. Throw 2 and try to get them into the undercarriage. Recon sensors from the beta will also get absolute banks over the points of intels for you and your team. Toss them where your drone isn't and destroy the lesser ghillie mains. I don't have all the weapons yet, but for CASPER I main the default PBX-45 SMG or else the UMP with suppressor and subsonic rounds to pick off groups as quietly unnoticed as possible. I haven't unlocked it, but in the beta the Vector was very potent for this as it pairs best with reactionary playoff drone data with a close quarter centric obscene fire rate and low sound level with the suppressor. The DM7 battle rifle with its hammer-like damage and efficiency is ideal at ranges for tactical overwatch and when I can't just run over there and do it myself. Far further than you'd expect from a DMR actually, but using the right bullets, don't underestimate the kill range of that SMG either. Spotting enemies seems to work like Battlefield 4 where it just turns them into a bullet magnet. Always try to take the extra second to get that spot off before engaging. Finally, most importantly, it is not a mistake that you have the ghillie suit. They may call you a bitch, but you can call them dead.
Let me turn her body!